Yeah. Sure.
Well, we're now we're live. So
I need to put you guys louder on here because I can't hear you, Joe. So I need to put it louder. So if there's feedback, bad luck.
6 weeks straight that we've had mic or speakers or something. 6 weeks since we started.
What?
There was less chaos at the F1 yesterday than what there is on this podcast on a weekly basis.
We've actually been calm. Jules, we've actually been calm.
We actually have. How prepared have we been? Smooth sailing.
How prepared have we been? But we, like it's a collective effort.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll give no credit to this side ever. I'll give no respect to this side ever.
John Overrook,
Honorary Blues brother, Will Hayes.
yes,
Mr. Paul Sebastiani, welcome back to the show, mate.
This one game is a build-up of, a year's worth of work.
What did you think of his performance?
And I gave my opinion.
It's an opinion-based podcast, fair enough.
welcome everyone to episode 84 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, brought to you by Piota Health and Performance and powered by the Blue Abroad Podcast Network and YouTube channel. It's another week. Just off the top, if my internet cuts out like it has the last 2 weeks, can you two just take over and not look like stunned bullets while I'm trying to sort it out? Is that all right?
Well, we were trying to work out last week whether you were saying anything or not. We thought you'd literally just frozen because you forgot your words.
Work it out. Like, it's not hard. You've been doing this for as long as I have now. Just take over for like 10 seconds. That's all I ask. Not that I'll get this look of.
Or
I'll watch the replay back.
Or what about this? How about you just get better internet?
My internet's fine. My internet's fine. I don't know what's happened the last couple of weeks. Anyway, as we said off the top, episode 84. Good to be back. Good to be back after another week. Undefeated after 3. I don't think any of us would have predicted at the start of the season, but it's been a fantastic start for the Blues. We will talk about how good it's been throughout the course of the episode, and more so probably areas of improvement still, which is scary to think that we haven't lost a game and there's so many areas that we need to tidy up. So, it's a good start to the year, boys. But before we get into it, as I ask every week, how are we?
Not too bad. Just feeling a bit of a cough. So if I mute myself and you see me cover my mouth, it's because I'm coughing. I'm not feeling the best.
Jules is seriously struggling.
I'll get through.
Bad.
Get through it with my voice.
Show him your tea, Jules. Show him your herbal tea that you got there.
Fuck. It's actually a bit of black tea with some honey.
Who has a yellow mug like that?
I do.
You go, okay, I'll just get a yellow mug.
I don't think I've ever seen.
I don't know if it is from IKEA, actually.
I don't think I've ever seen Jules drink tea, to be fair.
I have.
The brand's connoisseur. I actually don't drink tea. It's
Jules,
not a thing.
Every time you hold up that glass, I feel like I need to put sunnies on.
All I know is there's only fucking one trophy I want to hold on to, and boys at the end of. I've actually held on to it, actually, to be fair. But
no, he's all over the shop. All right, he's genuinely got a fever or something. He's all over the shop. Dan, what's going on, man?
No, I'm in a bit of strife as well.
Oh, don't tell me that.
I am. I think I've got cracked ribs or a punctured lung.
We've been through a lot.
But my missus seems to think I'd be in worse state if I had a punctured lung. So it can't be that.
You 100% would be. I think you've either cracked a rib or strained a muscle. It's like you've never been hurt in your life.
Right now, I've got my right hand resting on my rib cage just to be able to get words out. Well, I'm actually not even joking.
I'm good. I'm at 100%. To be honest, I feel fucking great. This is a shambles. Honestly, there's never been. I don't think we've had a week on this podcast where hasn't been something wrong. Like just one thing. Anyway,
if there is any doctors watching our show, can you just maybe ask? I've just got pain all through here. And there's bruising all along there as well.
Well, if I die,
yeah, look, any bruising, Clarence, tell me.
I worked out with you 2 weeks ago, and you didn't warm up. For a PT, it was disgusting to see how you went into this workout. You didn't warm up, you didn't stretch, you didn't roll on like foam roll. There's nothing, and then you pick up these 27-kilo dumbbells and start chest pressing on an incline bench like it's butter. And I'm going, if one of your clients did that, you would absolutely tear him a new arsehole. And that's fact.
But I'd say, God, they're strong.
And then 3 weeks later, Jules, he's turning around going, oh, I think I've hurt myself. I don't know how I've done it. Fucking hell. Seriously. Anyway, if you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. If you haven't already, go follow us on Instagram at Almost Blues Brothers, on Twitter at Almost Blues Bros. While you're here, give this video a like and give the Blue Abroad channel a subscribe if you haven't already as well. Boys, we're going to get into this. We've got a bit to cover tonight. And yeah, obviously we're going to get into it pretty much straight away with the round 3 review. We've got votes, we've got Livvy, we've got a preview of next week. We've got all the usual segments. So without any further ado,
let's get into it. You hit the right button this time week, did you?
Yeah, I did. How's that? Because you know what? This has actually been the calmest that I've come into this podcast since we've been on YouTube. That's actually a fact. I've just got a few comments here on Dan's, just on the state of this podcast. Ari reckons the first 5 minutes of this podcast is world class.
Raw.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Jimmy reckons Dan's just getting old. Clarence actually reckons you've got a broken rib, which is what I said. Which is what I said prior to the podcast starting. Gav reckons you got to take a cup of cement. That should be all right. And he also says to harden up. And Jason Badger, I don't know what this means, but he says maybe your missus thumbed you in your sleep. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I've got no idea.
Yeah, anyway, sorry, I forgot it's that. Yeah.
Boys, you know what? Before we get it, I'm just going to kick this off with this. A reading from the book of Judd, page 85, paragraph 2. I'll start with an analogy. What would make you run faster? To be chased by a lion, thinking that you're about to die, or to pursue some sort of glittering prize for the sake of it? For me, and I think for many sports people, fear is a great motivator. I've had some of my best experiences in sport in circumstances when I strongly sensed that I was about to fail. I'd been conscious of this from the age of 12 or 13. I knew that I simply could not afford to think about honor and glory the night before a game. How's that? Wow. I don't mind that one. And I'll tell you what,
man.
I had genuine fear watching that game on the weekend that we were going to bottle that big time.
Well, just quickly, if there's a lion chasing me, I'm running fast. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you that much, buddy. I don't give a fuck about the glory. If there's a lion now, I'm running.
It was a pretty putrid game to watch, but wasn't it, on the weekend?
It was terrible. Let's get into it. We've got a bit to cover. It was probably the ugliest win I can ever remember us having ever. I can't remember a worse win, to be honest. But match report, as it stated, final scores 9-10-64 to GWS, 9-20-74 to the Blues, 10-point winners. Goals for the Blues: Silvani, Doherty, Durden with 1 each, Curnow, Motlop, and Owies with 2 each. And the only injury from the day was Matt Owies with a hamstring. I think in that second quarter, he was replaced by Lockie O'Brien, so looks to miss time. But boys,
he's frozen again, Jules.
It's happened again.
Yeah, no, let's roll with it, Jules.
Roll with it. First quarter, Paysan, what are your thoughts?
Well, he's back. You'll be proud, Joe. We roll with it.
Yeah, did I not say that we? Did I not say? Anyway, it's good that you went on with it. Go with it.
No, but just quickly on that win, I think we need to look at the positive that we are undefeated. I think we should actually be wrapped at the fact of that we did get a win in the manner that we did. Obviously, not our most complete performance. I think everyone can say that, but we come away with the win, and I think we're all saying and we all agreed that we'll go quarter by quarter. But the last 5 minutes showed again a lot of character in my eyes, especially with our back six. And the way we even controlled the ball at times. It was credit to the boys in that sense.
For me, I arguably, I know obviously completely different opposition. Obviously, Geelong hasn't really been at their best this season either. But for me, arguably, the GWS win in terms of the last 5 minutes or so, the way it actually played out and the process and structure that we had in place was better than the week before, the way we actually handled it. Another thing, obviously, to take into consideration too, I just saw some stats online. I can't remember where it was. Fox Footy. We're the third least conceding this year. I know it's only 3 games, but obviously a bit of a small sample size. But obviously taking into consideration like who we've played in regards to Geelong and Richmond, it's good signs defensively.
Yeah, but we can see that. We've over the 3 games now, we've clearly seen that our back six can stand up. For me, I think our pressure gauge and our intensity just wasn't there. I think from the Geelong game to this one, that for me was the biggest thing lacking in the boys' performance. Yeah. And as you can all see, like 20 behinds scoreboard.
Do you think it's I just thought about this now, but do you reckon it's more of a consistency in terms of like experience? So if you have a look at obviously the back half, like the back six, you got the likes of, Doherty, Sard, who else? Wiedering's had a good 7-8 years now. Even Newman. Those boys, I know obviously they probably haven't played together for a long period of time, but they played a lot of AFL games. You put it again in the front half. You look at Harry and Charlie. I think they've only played maybe 70, 80 odd games themselves. And then taking into consideration, you got the likes of Motlop, Owies. Who else is down there? Obviously JSOS is at 100 now. Just in terms of trying to organize and everything like that, just the experience factor there could be something to look into.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good to see that we can grind these wins out. And I think I said to you, Jules, throughout the game, like we're just gonna, even as bad as it got at times in that game, I remember turning to you saying, we're just gonna win this game because we're a better team and we're more advanced in our development as a team under this system, under this coach. Like it was clear to see that it was always going to be a day where it wasn't going to go our way. It didn't look like we were up to scratch 100%. To be fair to GWS, they applied a fair bit of pressure. Like they came out firing. I thought they were cleaner with ball in hand. But even with that said, it never looked, for me, it never felt like it was in doubt. Even late in the game when they got up, I just felt like we were going to find a way, and we did. Obviously, we'll talk about the umpire dissent in a minute, but the game would have been locked up regardless of that free kick being paid, I think. And for me, it's just good to see that we can grind these wins out because in seasons gone by, that's a loss. And when you think about it from the picture of how many years did we hear from 2014, 15 onwards, it's not about wins and losses, it's about green shoots and all this bullshit, right? And we had all these young kids on this list that were part of a losing culture. We've got Hollins and Cowan that have not lost a game in the first 3 they've played. And that is a stark contrast from the club we have seen and the kids that have come through this development system in the last few years. So for me, that's the biggest positive from a win. Like as ugly as it was, the biggest positive is that these kids, these 2 in particular, know how to win.
They're in a culture, Joe. They're in a culture now that breeds winning and that reinforces winning. I think that's obviously testament to that. Yeah, I think I looked at it 2 ways, boys. I looked at it one with like you, Joe, going like we grinded another result. We probably would have lost that last years prior. But then I looked at it another way and went, good teams bury. Good teams bury a team like GWS.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if we convert 5 of those 20 chances or 20 behinds, are we talking about it in a different light? Do we see a different performance?
100% you would.
That's my point. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's an interesting one. Like for me, arguably the main area which sort of let us down was our forward line. both in accuracy in front of goal and trying to lock the ball inside forward 50. And I feel like as if we knew the GWS were going to slingshot and that was the way they're going to move the ball from defensive 50 to their forward 50. And really, particularly early on and in the first half, we weren't really able to do that. It actually did get better as the game did go on, though.
Well, you're gonna. I know you have your calcs, Jules, but we only tackled the ball 3 times inside forward 50.
Well, there you go. Well, that just goes to show in terms of, I mean, my calcs is obviously more so in terms of the accuracy.
It's a good segue.
So I've actually got a couple here, boys, because I don't really know how to look at it, really, because you can take into account how, we had 20 behinds. That's the highest that we've had since round 20, 2013. So that's almost 10 years ago. All right. So it's a very long time. So in terms of the amount of scoring opportunities that we did have, obviously with the goals that we did score as well, we had 30. All right. So it's a lot. All right. Now, when you have a look at it on the flip side, especially in the third quarter, we also had 15 inside 50s and we only got 5 points. All right. So it's sitting at about 33% in terms of efficiency inside forward 50. For me, you got to be sitting around 40%. It's around about the,
40, 45,
yeah, 40, 45. So in terms of the amount of opportunities we did have, in one quarter, we obviously didn't get the output that we sort of really, really wanted for, or wanted to get. And then over the 4 quarters, you look at it as entirety, we had the opportunities, but obviously in front of goal, weren't able to punish and really put scoreboard pressure on. And then from there, obviously build a margin where really a GWS side isn't going to really claw them their way back in, are they?
It's interesting because one of those 2 goals in the second half, did you say it was, Jules? We only kicked 2 goals in the second half, right?
We kicked the 2 goals in the fourth quarter. In the actual third quarter, we didn't kick goal.
And one of them was purely down to an umpiring decision. So really, we only kicked 1 goal from all those inside 50s in the second half. So that, you come away with the win, and if we don't come away with the win, we're sitting here and we would still be talking about all of the same things, but we'd be so much more critical. The fact that we came away with the win, it masks some of these issues that are still there and some of these areas for improvement that we really need to look at quickly, because we've got an easy-ish slate of games coming up before we get to a really sort of a slog in the middle part of our year that we've got to bank some wins in as well. If we don't fix up this scoreboard pressure issue that we've seen over the first 3 weeks and this inaccuracy in front of goal that's come from nowhere, really, like I think it was 10 behinds, 8 goals, 10. We were 2 goals 8 against Geelong, or 2 goals 9 against Geelong before we started to get going, and then 9 goals 20 against GWS. That's not something that we've seen from this team for a while so consistently. So it's a big area that we need adjusting, and a big area that we need adjusting quickly, especially considering the firepower that we've got up there. It's baffling to me that we've sort of gone backwards in that area.
But not only that, it's you need to be clinical in front of good opposition and when you're playing good opposition. And if we're doing that, we're going to get belted and we're going to get punished. GWS didn't punish us for our missed opportunities. And you play someone like, I don't know, Sydney, they'll punish, So you've got to get this right, and you've got to get it right pretty much ASAP, because otherwise, like I said, we could be punished. The other thing is, boys, is like we're not short on creating opportunities, which is good to see. But I actually think we could create even more if Charlie and Harry get their patterns right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How many times I need to see both of them going up for the ball?
I feel like as if it's their I feel like if it's not only their movement, it is their movement, don't get me wrong, but it's also like their starting positions. They almost start like too close together as well. So when the ball does, if it's a dump kick, they're sort of already in there, in each other's path as well. So I feel like as if there needs to be some improvement there. Against Geelong, it's funny. We actually did see it.
Yeah.
We actually did see improvement there. And now it's sort of like, it was better. And now we've sort of gone back into our shell like we did the week prior against Richmond.
But I don't know whether sorry, Joe. I just don't know whether they're both so hungry. That's why they are attacking the ball and they obviously go for the same thing. But it's just going to hinder. It's going to hinder that whole continuity of the forward line. It really is.
The amount of times that I saw, and in particular Harry, it's standing out a lot more with Harry, where he's leading into a space that Charlie has already opened up, and it's not just that they spoil each other, but Harry's bringing his defender with him, and it's creating an overload, or almost an overload, for the defenders to get set at the foot of that contest or spoil or whatnot. So I don't know. Like maybe this forward line isn't going to be like a Geelong, where one of them leads out like Jeremy Cameron and creates as much space, but they've got to sort out. Like, I'm happy for both of them to sit deep, but sort out being one out. Like, both of you need to be one out. Just keep your defender.
It can be like a Geelong bloke. They just got to get it right. It actually can be.
I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying I don't know if it's going to be like that. I don't know if that's what the plan is with this forward line. Maybe the plan is get it into them and let them have it one out. And for me, I'm actually comfortable with that. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing them one out each with a one-on-one defender, because I'd back both of them in one-on-one, to be honest, against most.
Sometimes the kicks aren't deep enough either.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and these are the areas that we need to clean up right now. It's not the consistent output. It's not the consistent patterns. It's not the consistent chemistry that you'd expect from a forward line that now has had a full season and a full season preseason together between those two, especially in terms of how they move. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. To be fair, and there's been a few comments on this as well. We haven't played on a perfect deck yet. The MCG turf was rubbish after that Ed Sheeran game for both weeks.
I think
they played on a cow paddock. They played on a cow paddock on Saturday. So Friday at Marvel is going to be interesting to see what happens with our ball movement, how much more slick we can be, and maybe that'll affect the leading patterns a bit further up the ground.
Yeah, I totally agree, Joe. I think even with the manner in which we move the ball out of D50 as well, I think the slick deck of Marvel is going to suit us, and it's really going to suit Charlie Curnow. We know he kicks bags there, so
they both do. They both do.
Yeah.
I think our ball movement at times, especially in the third and fourth quarter, was better
for sure
against GWS. It was much better.
Third quarter, we should have put that game away. We should be sitting here going, that was clinical in the third, and we just put them away, and it was a 40-point win. We couldn't hit the scoreboard. Yeah. We absolutely battered them in that third quarter. They were nowhere near it, especially for that first 10 minutes. We just couldn't capitalize. So it is what it is. Like we said, you take the 4 points and you run with it in that game. You just hope that we don't see that sort of a performance too often, because you're not going to come away with wins every week doing what they did, especially against better quality teams.
I was shocked. I was shocked at and I know we mentioned it and we touched on it already, but I was shocked at the pressure from our smalls. I thought it was going to be a lot more, and that same intensity that we brought against Geelong. That's probably I was a bit disappointed. For me, it's a big tick for our back six, but now with Owies out, you want to keep that going because that's dangerous. When we're defending like that from our forwards, then obviously them exiting D50 becomes a lot harder. Yeah,
they exited D50 too easily.
In the first and second quarter, they did. They were coming out there for fun.
Way too easily. So
they just couldn't hit up a target. If they couldn't hit up a target in the first and second quarter, forget about it, boys. We would have lost that game by 4 goals.
Agree. 100% agree. Just quickly, fourth quarter controversy, and this time in our favour. I think this is the first time that I can remember speaking about a decision that's actually gone in our favour. That's probably helped us win the game. To be fair, this umpire dissent rule, we take it, right? It definitely helped with the final score, especially at that time of the game. But if the AFL at this point don't look at that and think, fuck, imagine that's a fourth quarter of a grand final and it's that close, and we make a call like that and that's what decides the game. If there's not, I'm not saying that players should be able to abuse and argue with an umpire. I think the intent of the ruling is good, but it needs to be relaxed and it needs to be reshaped, because I personally, as a football fan, not as a Carlton fan, as a football fan, do not want to see that impact games like it did in our game.
Do we honestly think that if an umpire is in that decision where a player does raise his arms in a grand final, that they're, especially in the fourth quarter in the dying minutes, that they're going to make a decision? I don't think
They will. They got to be consistent.
Who knows?
But I don't think they would make it, even if it was happening. They would not make it, and they won't be consistent because there was another game. Who was it? I think it was a Richmond player. He moved from. Oh no, I can't remember. It was a Richmond game or St Kilda game. There was another player that raised their hands in demonstration, and I'm talking more like ferociously, and nothing was given. So, and Cornelio's was just a.
McGovern.
It could have been Cogs, or it could have been Whitfield. They both did it. They didn't know who it was for.
McGovern also raised his arms like minutes later, and there was no call on dissent. So I just think it's the intent of the rule makes sense. The way that it's being ruled and the way that it's being called at the moment needs some serious cleaning up. Anyway, that was just a little one to cover off. Boys, individual performances. Because I don't think there's too much more to say from a team perspective. I think we know what needs to be cleaned up. But individual performances was probably what got us over the line on the weekend. Agree?
Yeah.
See Cripps.
Right. Go for it. Start there.
I just felt, other than maybe his disposal probably could have been cleaned up a little bit better. But obviously in the contest and everything like that, he was inspirational. Obviously the amount of clearances and contested possessions. I think he had 20-odd contested possessions, and I think he had 13, 14 clearances or something like that. Something ridiculous. So ridiculous numbers. Arguably, he was probably going at halftime. It was probably going to be on like 50-something touches. But yeah, he was unbelievable, boys.
He had 42. He had all those numbers, and he spent. This was I think Vossi said it post game, or it's come out since the game. He spent a lot of time resting forward.
He actually did.
Yeah. Which is just ridiculous. Like if he had spent all his time in the midfield, he would have broke the possession record. There's no doubt in my mind, because he was tracking for it. He was at every single contest. Every contest, as soon as the camera switched to another contest, he was there. Switches again, he's there. And just out the back and ready to feed. And if it wasn't for the way he came out in that first and second quarter, especially, with the intent that he had to win the game, I think we would have really struggled.
I want to talk about Cripps, not even in terms of his obviously his on-field plaudits or what he did on-field, but his I think was it quarter time or half time? I think it was quarter time, Joe. Yeah, and he was getting into players just about standards to the point where he was hitting players on the chest. Demanding expectations, demanding high performance. And I feel like as if he's obviously doing it on field. So then he's demanding it off field, and he's saying, you know what, boys, we actually need a lift here. I'm really happy with, the way he's leading at the moment, especially.
Yeah. There's a few players that I want to talk about. One is an overall performance. Now, this will lead into it very nicely, but did Toby Green play?
Nah.
Newey, we said it last. I think we've actually given him praise over the past all of our games, but he was again standout, absolute standout for me. His composure, he locked down Toby Green, good ball use. Again, for me, massive standout. He was sensational. Big. I think he's a leader down there as well.
Are we surprised?
Big leader. Huh?
Are we surprised about that kind of performance from Newey?
How he locked up Toby Green, he was on 3 touches, man.
I'm not surprised.
In the game, I think 3 or 4.
I don't think I've seen anyone towel up Newey, to be fair, consistently over a 4-quarter performance.
Towel up Toby?
No. I don't think anyone's toweled up Newey over a 4-quarter.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, yeah. Look, I can't remember a time where we've sat here like we've not potted, but we've pointed out when players have had poor performances before, and there's been a few names that we throw up every now and then that are just one out of the box, right? But I can't remember an episode where we've ever said, "Oh, Newman had a shit game." To be fair, he's always been that player. I think there was when Simo retired, we did an episode where Newman stood out in that back six, and we all said he's taken on that role and run with it. Simo's role of that back six leadership where you just know what you're going to get from him every single week. And every single week since, he hasn't lost a step. Do you know what I mean? So for me at this point, if you look at the 3 games that we've played, I reckon come BNF night, he's going to be top 3 in our BNF at this point after 3 rounds. That's how good he's been. That's how consistent he's been. And the coaches see all of this. The umpires don't see it. The players may not see it in the Players Association MVP and whatnot. He might not get votes there. But our coaches see it. Our coaches know what he brings to this team. I'm telling you now, he'll be a big bolter in our BNF this year. And don't be surprised if he finishes top 3 the way that he's going.
You boys, yeah, for sure. Your boys said Cripper was everywhere. Yeah, which he was. For me, in the first and second quarter, Motlop. Guys, what that kid was doing, honestly, he's going to be a superstar. He's that good. Yeah, I think he had 8 score involvements in the first half with, what was it, Joe? 13 touches? 13 touches. But it's just his ball use. He's just such a smart player, you know. And for me, he really stood out as the guy that got us going again when it looked like our backs were against the wall a little bit. He really, I think, got us going, in my opinion.
Yeah, he gets up the ground as well, and obviously he creates. I feel like as if with a few more pre-seasons, he's going to be able to get up the ground and obviously help and support and create. But then he's going to be able to get back inside forward 50 and then get to the next contest to be able to, create even further. So, I'm really, really looking forward to what Motlop's going to be able to do in the next few years.
His ball use is so good. Do you think that he could be the guy that we want Fisher to be? That sort of...
That link person? Yeah.
That link person? Yeah. I think Mott's can do it.
Stevie65 just said he's a bit worried about Fisher. I think I feel like as if I've been the same. And I think us boys have been the same as well. I think, was it last week against Geelong? He had 20 to go.
No, he was good last week. 20 and a goal.
He was not bad last week.
Against Richmond, he went missing after quarter time. And then against GWS, he wasn't. Fisher was not. I haven't been impressed in 2 of the 3 games, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't think he was as bad as what everyone's trying to make out that he was against GWS.
You know what?
I think you need to understand his. You need to understand his role in the team. People are like, "Oh, he's not contested enough." Not his role.
No. Yeah. For me, that's not.
I think everyone was being really harsh on Fish. I think he didn't have as bad of a game. I think our expectations are a lot higher, and we expect more.
Well, he's been in the system for so long now, right?
I understand, but you still got to criticize him in the way in which he played. You can't just say that he played poorly because he didn't have as much involvement as you'd like. Because he still used the ball well. He still got involved. He worked his ass off. You know.
I don't think he was poor. I just think he was subpar for what I know, or what we know that he can bring. And to his credit, late in the game, I do remember it was one of look, we said pre-show, we don't really remember too much of the game because it was that bad, right? We're just sort of zoning out. But I do remember late in the game, he had a couple of passages where he was real calm with the ball sort of on our half back line and looking to hit up leads on the wing or hit up a kick inside to slow the game down. So to his credit, when the game was on the line, I think he stood up. But we do need a bit more out of him. We do. I think pre-season we all said we're expecting almost a goal a game from him. That's the player that he needs to become, that Dylan Moore type player, right? Where Dylan Moore has 20 and 1 every game. That's what Fisher can be. We know we can be that. We just don't get it every week. That's the prototype for what we need Fish to become.
I'm looking at something, and I reckon this would be very interesting. All right, I'm looking at his tracker.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think his split is of where he was on the ground or where he got his possessions?
Probably deep wing, to be honest.
Deep wing?
Yeah, off like D50 on the wing.
D50. So defensive half, he was 40. So out of 17 possessions, okay. So for a half forward, still got 17. It's not bad, not a bad day at the office. But in terms of his actual tracker, 74 of his possessions were in defensive half of the ground.
74%.
74%.
So
but that's what I'm saying.
You want him receiving it obviously on the wings or on the half forward, like, half forward line. So I think it's more his positioning around where he should be receiving the ball rather than like his work rate and everything like that.
For sure. But for me, that's where I'm saying that I didn't mind what he was doing because he was getting us out of it. He was getting us out of D50 at times, and he was providing that link. Again, we would want that high up the ground. But in that game, we didn't have an issue getting it inside 50. If we had an issue getting inside 50, would be, do you know what I mean? I'd be going, fuck, where was Fisher?
I wouldn't say
that's his role.
Correct. But for me, I wouldn't say we didn't have an issue getting the ball inside forward 50, but it was probably the manner in which we did. And Fisher can help that. That's the outlook I have.
So could our forwards patterns.
Correct. For sure. I think there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, for sure.
I got two more to speak about. First one, Adam Chera, just quickly. I think he's been really good to start this year. He copped a lot of criticism last year. He copped a lot of heat coming into this season about, especially from the media, that he needs to step up and become the player that we signed. I personally didn't necessarily agree with a lot of that commentary, but he's shown that he can play a number of roles for us. So he had 15 contested possessions from 28 disposals on the weekend. But when he drops behind the ball, his composure with ball in hand, he makes mistakes every now and then, every player does, but his composure with ball in hand and be able to hit a target and slow the game down when we need to is really, really impressive. So I'm wrapped with where Chera's at. And when you've got Walsh and Kennedy still to come back into this midfield, it's going to free him up even more to make better decisions with a lot more time with ball in hand, especially. Yeah. So I think I'm wrapped.
Yeah, for me, when you look at Chera, he's sort of that icing on the cake for me. When we're full strength, he's probably arguably like third, fourth, maybe even fifth in line, depending on who's up and running. So he's that polish. He's that, he's that X factor a bit of with clean use with the ball. So, and I have no doubt, like you said, Joe, with Walsh, with Kennedy coming back in, he's only going to go into another level.
Last one I want to speak about personally is a bloke that had 39 disposals on the weekend, 22 kicks, 10 marks, kicked a goal, went at 62%, but considering the conditions, probably not too bad in the end. Only had 6 turnovers on the day from those 39 disposals, 5 intercept possessions, 10 score involvements, 4 inside 50s, 3 rebound 50s. How many meters gained? 517. I read on Twitter tonight that Sam Doherty had another benign tumor removed from his nether region in December that no one knew about up until quite recently. And he comes in this season and he's doing what he's doing. This bloke is Superman. He's not human. He's not human. He's not human. That is as heart and soul of a football club as you'll see across the league, boys. Seriously. I'm just in awe of what Sam Doherty does on a football field.
It is inspirational. It really is.
For me, it's
belter goal as well. He kicked.
Yeah. For me, it's just incredible how he just keeps backing up, like on and off field.
Yeah.
And obviously it's probably a privilege and an honor to have him, obviously, with our emblem on his chest every week.
Tell you now, when we lift the cup and when these players get presented, when we lift the cup and these players get presented with their medals, the roar from that crowd when they call the number 15 up onto that stage is going to be like something you've never ever heard in your life. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Seriously. Seriously. Yeah. There's no bloke in football that deserves a premiership more than Sam Doherty at this point.
Oh, his work rates. If everyone in our side doesn't get motivated and inspired by him and just being in the same room as him and the advice he'd give, the leadership he has on and off the field, then you're playing the wrong sport.
I feel like as if they are. Like, just have a look at Cowlands and Mullins.
Yeah,
mate. 3 games in, 3 obviously not a loss. The way they go about their footy, I'm not so much talking about with their ball use or anything like that, but the way they actually run, carry, hit the contest hard, split a 2-on-1 situation, mate. They're learning off him for sure.
Yeah, boys. Just quickly, we need to give credit where credit's due, and there was some big moments from this player. Now, JSOS. I know Gavin. I could see he wanted us to talk about Jesus, because I think he probably had one of his best games. It was more his ball use. I remember in the third quarter, he had the ball actually through the corridor, and instead of just dump kicking inside forward 50, he actually looked laterally and hit up someone that actually led to a direct goal. And it's that vision there, and he seemed to just have been everything that he had done was effective. He made the right decision. Put his body around, around, and I think he was actually probably one of his best games, definitely this year. Anyway,
he's just a solid footballer.
Yeah, but we hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it for the past couple games. He's actually been quite quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's done a couple of things each game. But yeah, hopefully he builds on from here.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he can bounce back consistently now, because it is an important role that he does play. I think we spoke about it last week, is that third tall. And hopefully if we can continue with the dual ruck combo as well, he can really solidify himself as that third tall and lead up target sort of off the half forward flank like we've seen the last couple of weeks. So, it could be a bit of a consequence of that dual ruck combo that we've seen.
Well, it has to be. That surely has to give him the freedom now to play his natural game rather than have to pinch hit in the ruck as that second ruckman. That probably took away from his qualities.
Agree. All right, we've got some Blues cues, boys. This is from Oliver Lynch. With all our potential, how far off is a good thrashing of a shit side? And I'm going to predict that on Friday, Good Friday football, we see us genuinely put North Melbourne to the sword. That's where I'm at. I think this is the game.
The GWS game was going to be it, so I need to see it.
Yeah, I feel like as if GWS probably would have been that game, but obviously looking at the conditions of the ground, and obviously it being over there, a bit difficult. But I think, this week, I wouldn't be surprised. From
Elias Yaka, who can replace Owies for this week that can produce similar forward pressure?
Well, wait for ins and outs.
Yeah.
Wait for ins and outs.
Well, all right, don't worry about the ins and outs, because I don't have one in my ins and outs. So I would say if there was going to be a like for like come in, at this point, it's probably only Josh Honey that's available.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be looking at Cunners.
Purely, but I'm saying Honey purely because of that forward pressure that's so effective and that suits our game style. And I think he's the only player that can do that at the moment with what we've got available. Is Walshy fit? Is he going to play?
Talk about that later.
Yeah, I don't know if the club would go for like. I think we got a few others that aren't playing that are probably ahead.
Of Owies?
No. Well, if Owies is going out, but I think there's a few other players that will be ahead of Honey, for example.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
like your Kennedys, like your Walsh if is available. Yeah. That's what I see happening, because at the end of the day, boys, if you want to fit all those midfielders in, someone's got to make way. Yeah. And it probably is one of the smalls.
Yeah, fair. If Walsh is ready, yeah, definitely. If he's not, that's what I'm saying. If he's not, but I'm going off the fact that he's not.
How did Cunners go? Does anyone know?
Apparently, I saw some comments to start the game that he had a lot of class and polish about him.
He can't be in the conversation yet. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. He has to play at least 2-3 weeks of football to be in the conversation.
For me, he's not in the conversation. But I just want to know if anyone's aware of how he went, because
if anyone
trying to delve into stuff and I couldn't find anything.
If anyone saw any VFL action or knows of how Cunners went, just drop us a comment so we can have a chat about it. From Jim Agio, thoughts on Vossi's coaching after quarter time, boys?
I feel like as if defensively, them getting out of D50 from the first quarter and even maybe 6-7 minutes into the second, they found it a little bit easier. And then after that, I feel like as if the players adjusted. For me, inside 50, we had the opportunity. We had the looks. I feel like as if we just didn't capitalize ourselves. So for me, the coaching for Voss wasn't really an issue.
No, it's execution.
Yeah.
It's execution. Same against Geelong. It wasn't nothing from a coaching perspective. It's all execution.
Agree.
He can't kick that footy for him.
From Mitch Burton, other than Nick Newman, who we've spoken about already, who's one of our most underrated players at the moment? For me, it's probably Chera. Like I said before, I think Chera has actually gone under the radar a bit. I don't think he's got the credit that he's probably deserved to this point in the 3 rounds that we've seen.
I probably have to agree. Even Motlow's been really good. Probably hasn't hit the scoreboard as much, but his impact around the ground in terms of transitioning the ball from D50, I feel like he's up there as well.
I think we've got a lot of players like that at the moment. I think a lot of players are really putting their hand up. You know, you even look at Hollands. You take Hollands out off that wing, and I don't think you get the same effect with his work rate, his pressure. I think there's a fair few names there, boys, that are underrated at the moment. You know, I know he's a young kid, but the way he's playing that wing role is fucking actually unbelievable. Seriously.
Yeah. I feel like as if this all happens when you start having a good structures in place. You start getting those players that sort of go under the radar a lot more. So it's good signs.
Got one from Jason Badger here in the comments. Are we going to do what the Cold Pies did last year and win 12 games under 10 points and below? I'll tell you what, if this team does that, I'll be pissed off because those Pies last year that everyone was ranting and raving about lost in a prelim. They did fuck all with it. So, no, I don't want to see us become that team. I want to see us become a team that's convincing and can put teams away when we need to put them away.
Well, I'm still not looking at us. I'm still not looking at us, despite that we're getting the results. I'm still not looking at us and going, "Fuck, we are damaging," because we're not showing it on the scoreboard. And for me, unless we're clinical on scoreboard pressure, then I won't be able to say that. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I think that's it for the Blues Qs for this week. So thank you for sending in on the Instagram. And
it's pretty stock. This review's stock. We were just better. We're just a better team than GWS. But if we're not careful and we don't clean up those things and we're not clinical, we're gonna be punished. And then we'll be having a different review and we'll be hammering.
Agree, Dan. You're saying a lot of good things tonight, man.
Good on Livvy, just straight to the point. Get her on.
All right, boys, votes. This is easy as well. We've all got the same votes. We did this together. Huh?
Who wants to share first?
Well, we've already been through it, really. Doc 1. We spoke about why. Newman 2. We spoke about why. Did a brilliant job on Toby. And then Cripper. You can't go past Cripps with 42, 13 clearances and 20 contested disposals. That's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. So the votes are easy this week. Leaderboard looks like this. At the moment, we've got Charlie on 10 votes leading the way. Cripper on 9. After that, that clean sweep in our votes this week.
He's done it in 1 week.
Of the BOG, I know. Adam Sard with 8, Newman on 8, and Lewis Young on 7 to round out the Almost Blues Brothers 2023 Most Valuable Player Award after 3 rounds. Boys, have you got anything else to say about this game before we move on?
No.
Oh. Livvy's last... Oh.
No.
Livvy's last... Oh.
Gov?
What about him?
He's been good. He's been good.
Yep.
For me, he's been good.
Underrated.
Very good, yeah. I think everyone the last few weeks, whatever, but he's solid. He's been good.
Everyone's remembering the moments that he hasn't maybe shown up, but everyone's forgetting the 95% of the game where he hasn't. He's probably, to be honest, held that back six in very, very solid shape. Very solid shape. Livvy's last word.
Hey everybody, it's Livvy with Livvy's last words. Okay, we were okay. I mean, we played pretty bad for versing GWS. Honestly, my predictions was we're going to smash him. But I mean, after all, we did alright. But I don't want to be against Carlton. But the umpires were definitely on our side. You could tell. You could actually tell. Usually I'm screaming at the umpires because it's absolutely bad. Like, they're probably the worst umpires in history. But this game, they were the best. We definitely had very good pressure. We've been having the best pressure I've seen from them. Great defense. But a couple of times, we weren't that good. They got some easy goals, which I was not happy about. We had quite a lot of possessions, which was good. First quarter, pretty boring, I'd say. First quarter was definitely boring. I was just sitting in my chair relaxing. It was so boring. Second quarter, we were good, very good at the end. I was very excited at the end. We definitely good at the end of all the quarters. Third quarter was absolutely amazing. Fourth quarter, man, I was so nervous. Shit, I just had a feeling we're going to lose. I had a feeling that GWS is going to beat us by 50 at the fourth quarter. I just had a feeling, but we only beat them by 10 points. Should have beat them by 100. Absolutely disappointing. The fourth quarter was alright. It was good. But I have to say, I need Sam Walsh. I miss Sam Walsh so much. We need him. But anyway, Sam Walsh, please come back. Sardi is always just the best. Sardi, I love you. Special shout out to Jack Silvani. Usually he's a bit clumsy, but this game, I must say, he did a lot of important marks we needed, and it was just amazing. Always did good. First quarter, he got 2 goals, which I was very excited about. Our skipper, Paddy Cripps, with the 42 touches, always doing amazing. Doc always does amazing. You can always tell Doc is going to do good. And Charlie Cano, he was great. But I reckon all the boys did amazing. But anyways, that's what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
That every week just gets better and better.
Nails it every week. I like this week. I don't know if anyone saw it or heard it. Where she goes, that fourth quarter. Shit, I just had a feeling that we're going to lose that game. It was very good. Very good. All right, let's move on to the round 4 preview against North Melbourne. Good Friday footy, boys. They, you got these marquee games, and they give them to marquee teams, man. They give them to teams that can sell out a venue, not minnow clubs like the Western Bulldogs. So it's our first proper marquee matchup, really, outside of the traditional season open that we've got against Richmond. And let's hope that we can make this our own, to be honest, because I think we've got the fan base to make this Good Friday match something that it deserves to be fair.
If we
Marvel,
them 5 times in a row on this day, it will be.
Yeah, that's right.
If we belt them 5 times on Good Friday in a row, it will be.
Well, the Western Bulldogs did that and they lost it. So maybe we need to keep it a bit tight. It's obviously on Friday, I think 4:20 at Marvel. So, and I think the GA tickets are sold out. My sister tried to buy a ticket today and she couldn't get them. I think it's a sellout. So it's going to be a decent crowd. I think mostly made up by Blues fans. But North are up and about. They did just come off a loss against the Hawks. Regardless, they
bit of a reality check.
Well, they're 2-1 to start. They're 2-1 to start the season, and it's got them with a little bit of hope under Alistair Clarkson that they can upset any team on their day. So it's not going to be a walkover by any stretch, I reckon.
Yeah, but I didn't mind it, to be honest with you. They all needed to pipe down a bit, the North supporters, and hopefully they did. Just settle. It's a whole thing when you get a new coach come in, you're always going to win. I think that's just tradition. New coach comes in, you win your first game, second game. Yeah. Brendan Bolton.
Well, he didn't win his first and second game. I can tell you that. Teague did, yeah. Teague did.
There you go.
They're 2G.
Fair comment.
Is LDU back or what?
He should be. I think he will be.
What? It shouldn't matter.
Well, this is the thing. They lost against the Hawks without Davies Uniacke and Simpkin, I think, was laid out, right? So they weren't full strength. And I think that they match up well on us regardless. Yeah. They always have. Every year they do for some reason. I don't know why.
Do you know who does well against us?
Suvalaki.
Always, man. Always.
I don't know why. Always. How do we set his playing out, boys?
If I'm honest, belting.
It should be, honestly.
Yeah. I want to see it. I don't think with how stacked we are in the midfield, especially if Walsh is back, forget about it. But I don't. I miss him too, Livvy. I really do. I don't think that. I think just we can run over the top of him. I think we've got the cattle to be able to. And this time round, like again, I looked at the matchup as well, Jules, and I looked at Zerha, who's spending a bit more time in the middle as well. But I looked at it and went, Larky doesn't bother me.
Yeah. What do you? Hold on.
To be fair, they shouldn't have anyone.
Wait.
Not with our back six. One-on-one. I'll back us to the hill.
Wait. What did you just say, Dan?
Doesn't bother me.
For everyone listening.
I know why. You're going to say stats. Piss off.
No. There's no stats. 2 weeks ago, Dan turned to me with the most convincing look I've ever seen in his eyes. And he said, Joe, Nick Larky for the Coleman.
I know.
Did you not?
But he's not going to kick him against us.
Doesn't bother you, but he's got him back. I think you got money on him for the Coleman, do you not?
Yeah.
That's fucked.
Did he kick 7 on us last year?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
He's on 12.
I look, he doesn't worry me, but we're still got to do a job on him. Like, he's leading the Coleman at the moment, is he not?
I understand, but I back us in 1-on-1. I've got no issue.
Well, we'll see.
I think it's on us, boys. It's honestly on us in what we produce. If we are not clinical and we produce shit and we don't bring an intensity, they will have confidence from that, as every other team does against us. Like GWS, the closer that teams can stay to us, the more confident they get the longer the game goes on. So we come out, we bury these kids, 4 or 5 goals up, quarter time. We're sitting there, Easter egg in hand. Bang.
I'm not too concerned either, to be honest. I think, look, they'll probably, no, it's the wrong one. I think they'll put up a decent fight. I think they're going to have a bit of hunger under Clarko, considering this is their marquee game. They haven't shown up for this game at all for the last 3 years. Clarko's going to get them fired up. And I think if we can just stave off the initial onslaught that's probably going to come, and them being a bit hyped up with adrenaline and whatnot, we should be able to put them away late in the game. I think we'll put them away easily late in the game. Ins and outs, boys, very different this week. So who wants to start?
You went down, Jules. You can start. You start. I need to hear this.
Why?
Go.
Me? Because I don't know if Walsh is going to be back.
So you're going. So we've all got Owies and Akers going out. Owies with the hammy.
Why have I got 2 out?
Let me.
I know why, Jules. Because you got O'Brien coming in down the sub.
O'Brien coming in.
Thank you. So Owies and Akers out for all of us. Obviously, Owies with the hammy, Akers either with suspension off that bump late against GWS, or potentially just rested with that shoulder that he was carrying. But Jules, explain your ins.
Mine, because I don't know if Walsh is going to get up, and I don't see the club going like for like with Honey going in. So that's my reasoning. If Walsh does get up, then I think O'Brien will stay the sub, and Dow won't be the sub.
So you got Kennedy and O'Brien coming in. If Walsh isn't fit with Dow, the sub. Otherwise, Kennedy
Correct.
and Walsh.
Yeah, that's what I see coming. Yeah.
Dan, you've gone Kennedy and Honey.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. I think Honey's the player. And I think a lot of people shouldn't forget how much we were raving on about this kid the end of 2 years ago. Am I right?
Yep.
You're better with dates and stuff, Joe, so help me, please. But can we all remember how much this kid turned it on? So you know what he can do. Like I said, for me, I'm looking at the continuity of our forward line, the pressure that we need to provide to stop the way they exit D50, and I think he's the only player that can. But from reports, he has been shit in the reserves.
I think he only had 5 touches in the reserves on the weekend.
Yeah,
He's been terrible,
and that's why I see Dow coming in just purely based on performance.
But he's done that forever.
I'm kind of with you, Jules. I think on performance, you got to reward Dow if Walsh isn't fit. But I'm saying Walsh is fit. For me, Kennedy and Walsh come in. This is the perfect game for Sam Walsh to play like 70% game time and get subbed out in the third or something.
Yours doesn't count because me and Jules would have picked Walsh there as well. We would have put Walsh there as well. We've given an alternative to the listeners, and you've had to just go with the obvious one.
Yeah, and I think consider I heard Dow was out. I know a few comments. I'm not sure why he was out last game in the Rezzies. The Rezzies did play before the AFL team. Joe's frozen again. So, yeah, I'm not too sure why he was out. Potentially he was out because there might have been a late withdrawal from our game. Maybe it was a Hewitt for cover. I don't think he was injured or anything like that. So, but the weeks prior, from all reports, he's been pretty good.
I think it was a game against North Melbourne that Dow got an opportunity, and once again, he did not produce. And I just can't. I really can't. I'm that far past him. It's not even funny. And I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. Am I even allowed to be that cruel?
I don't know. I think when you're playing that well in the twos, if someone's got to come in, you've staked your claim, regardless of what we've seen.
Sometimes you can be a really good twos player.
Yeah, of course, we've seen that. We've seen that as well with the likes of Nick Graham. But Nick Graham was picked based on 50 possession games as well, and like 3-goal games. So Dow, I'm kind of with Jules. If Walsh doesn't get up, I think Dow deserves a crack. That's where I'm at with how he's put. Because really, based on these twos reports at the moment, he's the only one that's stepping up every other week. So who else are you going to give it to? Based on that, what, you want to bring Lockie Plowman in because he had 21 touches? Come on, man. The ball's been living in our back half in the VFL apparently. No wonder
you want to bring in Dow based off having 40 touches in the twos.
The bloke, he's in the midfield.
Put Doc in there.
Listen, I'm not having an argument here. Let's just put a positive note on this one for everyone.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar.
Yep, there you go. First one of the year.
Hey, to be fair,
Decent.
stiff. George Hewitt normally nails it.
Probably should have left Hewitt out considering his come off an injury. You should know better.
Okay. To be a little bit calm because George Hewitt's normally the Mr. Reliable. Well, not for my bank account.
He's got him in again.
Not for my bank account. All right.
He's
we
got
got
him again. He's doubled down.
Yeah, that's what you do. With reliable players, you back him in again because they'll nail. If he doesn't nail this week, he's out.
Take us through it.
All right. I need the lock. Let's go. George Hewitt, 25.
Lock. I'm not saying this with any conviction, by the way. You got to nail one first. I'm sorry.
I nailed one against Geelong.
It was void, wasn't it?
Still nailed. All right. Zeeble, 20. The ball's going to be in there a lot. He's touching. I was even going to go 25.
I do like that one.
LDU, if he plays. If he doesn't, and Kennedy does, put Kennedy in there. All right, I'm giving alternatives. Motlop for a goal.
Yeah, I like
Charlie
that.
was too short. I was going to go Charlie too, but it was $1.20. Don't put $1.20.
Charlie's going to kick 5. Just by the way.
And then Sardi, because Sardi's actually nailed 20 touches, I think, every game so far. And he was a bit of value in there. So, bang.
Good value for Sard. Just don't put too much on that because Dan has a terrible track record with Pop Predicts. So, just be sensible. To finish up.
Why are you doing the segment then? Just to hammer me. Just a good excuse to hammer Pov. Cool.
No, it's actually just to make you happy. So you got something that's unique. All right, boys, to finish off, final predictions for this one.
Carlton by 37. How much did you say, Jules?
One at a time. 52 for Jules. Dan?
37.
Yeah, I'll say 40. I think this should be that game. It should be. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Everyone, thank you very much for tuning in once again. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back next Monday. Hopefully still undefeated and not breaking down a loss that none of us can see coming right now. So until then, up the baggers, man.
Calm the baggers.
Calm the baggers.